Okay, so wow. Sometimes you hear about these like big shifts in tech, right? And you're like, okay, yeah, that sounds like it's probably important.
Right.
But what's happening right now with Ethereum? I mean, this is the second biggest player in the entire crypto world. It
Yeah.
really genuinely feels like one of those kind of pivotal moments, like where things could really change the landscape.
For sure.
So in this deep dive, we're gonna crack this open and see what it means for you.
Yeah.
Whether you're just kind of crypto curious or if you've been in the game for a while.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're really diving into how Ethereum is shifting away from its original foundation, this thing called proof of work,
Yeah.
to this new system called proof of stake, which a lot of people are calling like the big Ethereum upgrade.
Right, Ethereum 2.0, all that stuff.
Exactly. And our insights today are coming from a recent crypto industry update that just really lays out the nuts and bolts
Yeah.
of this entire transition.
Nice. Okay, so our goal here is pretty straightforward. Yep.
We want to take what can sound like super complex tech stuff and like
Right.
make it click, you know?
Yeah.
We want you to walk away really understanding what this shift means, especially if you're thinking about the future of digital currencies
Yeah.
and how they might fit into your world.
That's
No need for a computer science degree. We just want to give you the essential takeaways.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just get right into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
What is this Ethereum upgrade?
Great.
And beyond just like the headlines, like why should this even like register on your radar?
So at its heart, this Ethereum upgrade is a fundamental change in how the Ethereum network actually verifies transactions
Right.
and adds new information to that digital ledger, which we call the blockchain.
Got it.
So for a long time, Ethereum, much like Bitcoin, was relying on something called proof of work, or POW. And imagine it this way. Imagine like this global, massive puzzle-solving competition.
Where miners who are running these super powerful computers are constantly trying to crack these complex mathematical problems.
Yeah.
And whoever finds the solution first
Yeah.
gets to basically bundle up all the latest transactions into a new block on the chain.
Ouch, yeah.
And they get rewarded with newly created ether.
Right.
And this system is super secure. It's been proven to be very secure,
Right.
but it demands a ton of electricity.
Yeah.
And this has raised a lot of concerns about the impact on the environment,
For sure. Yeah.
I mean, there are reports that were comparing the energy consumption to entire countries.
Wow. Yeah, when you put it like that, it does make you think. It really hits home.
Yeah.
Okay, so if that's like the old way of doing things,
Yeah.
what's this new approach with proof of stake? How's that working differently?
So proof of stake, or POS, basically flips that entire model on its head.
Okay.
So instead of all that power-hungry mining,
Yeah.
you now have what are called validators. And these validators are people or organizations that stake a certain amount of their existing ether. So they're essentially locking it up
Right.
as a form of like guarantee
Okay.
to be eligible to then validate transactions and create those new blocks.
Gotcha.
And the network picks these validators to do this task through a kind of lottery system,
Okay.
often based on how much ether they've staked.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
the more you commit, generally, the higher your chances are of being selected.
Got it.
Now, what's really game-changing here is this dramatically cuts down on all that heavy computational work,
Right.
which leads to a massive reduction in energy use.
Yeah.
Plus, this sets the stage for big improvements in how many transactions the network can handle.
Okay, so a much smaller energy bill for the network.
Right.
And the potential to just handle way more traffic.
Exactly.
Sounds like a win-win.
Yeah.
But why is Ethereum making this like huge change now? It kind of feels like, changing the engine on a plane mid-flight.
Well, it is a big undertaking. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But there are some really compelling reasons driving this change.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest one is scalability.
Okay.
Like we were talking about earlier, the explosion of DeFi,
Yeah.
NFTs, and smart contracts.
Yeah.
All of this has just put a huge strain on the Ethereum network.
Right.
I mean, we've all heard about, or maybe even experienced, those crazy high gas fees,
Oh, yeah.
the cost to make a transaction,
Yeah,
and the really, really slow processing times.
for sure.
Proof of stake is like a fundamental step towards just easing all that congestion
Right.
and making the network so much more efficient.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. If every time you wanted to send an email, it cost you a few dollars,
Right.
and it took minutes to arrive, you'd probably be looking for a different system.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's kind of the situation Ethereum has been dealing with.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, those gas fees can be a real barrier for a lot of people, wanting to get involved.
Yeah, exactly.
So scalability is a huge driver.
Yeah.
What about those environmental concerns we were talking about earlier?
Yeah.
Was that a big factor too?
Absolutely. All the criticisms surrounding proof of work's energy consumption have become a major, cloud over Ethereum.
Yeah.
By going to proof of stake.
Yeah.
They're addressing these environmental worries directly.
Right.
And really trying to position themselves as a much greener alternative to Bitcoin.
Okay.
Which still uses that proof of work model.
Yeah.
And in a world where sustainability is becoming so important to investors and users,
right,
this could be a real competitive advantage for Ethereum down the line.
Right.
It's like they're future-proofing the technology.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. People are definitely becoming more and more aware of the environmental impact of the tech they use.
Yeah.
And you mentioned this move to proof of stake is part of a bigger vision.
Exactly. This is not a standalone upgrade. This is a cornerstone of what was known as Ethereum 2.0, the bigger picture. So that includes other big upgrades like shard chains.
Correct.
So imagine the main Ethereum blockchain as this single busy highway, right?
Okay.
Shard chains are like building multiple lanes on that highway.
Gotcha.
Allowing for many more transactions to happen at the same time.
Right.
Which significantly boosts the network speed, security, and overall capacity.
Okay.
So proof of stake is really that foundation that makes all these future scalability enhancements possible.
Nice. Okay, so we've got a good handle on what this upgrade is, what the big reasons behind it are.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about what it actually means for you, the listener.
Right.
The person who might be holding some Ether, thinking about getting into it, or just, curious how all of this plays out.
Exactly. And this is where things get really interesting and potentially very beneficial for you.
Okay.
So one of the biggest and most immediate impacts for Ethereum holders is this opportunity to earn something that's essentially passive income through staking.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So you remember those validators we were talking about?
Yeah. Well, if you hold a certain amount of Ether, you can stake it.
Okay.
So you lock it up to help secure the network.
Okay.
And in return for contributing to the network security by validating transactions, you actually receive rewards in the form of more Ether.
Wow.
Our source says these annual rewards are expected to be around 4 to 6%.
Okay.
Although it's important to remember, this can fluctuate depending on how much total Ether is being staked.
Yeah.
And just the overall activity on the network.
Right.
But it is a direct way for people holding Ether to potentially grow their holdings just by participating in how the network operates.
Okay.
It's kind of like earning interest in a decentralized way.
Right. So it's like your crypto can now work for you.
Exactly.
Earning you more crypto just by helping keep the network secure.
Exactly.
That's a pretty compelling idea.
Yeah.
What's another takeaway for, the average user?
Well, the possibility of lower gas fees is huge.
That could really impact your experience directly.
Yeah.
Now, the initial switch to proof of stake won't magically make transaction costs disappear overnight.
Right.
But the increased scalability that POS makes possible, along with those future upgrades like shard chains, all that should lead to a much more efficient network.
Okay.
One that can handle way more transactions at a lower cost per transaction.
Okay.
And if those gas fees come down significantly and consistently, it just makes Ethereum way more attractive for developers to build all those cool decentralized applications.
Yeah.
And for everyday people to use them.
Right.
Whether it's DeFi, trading NFTs, or all the other amazing applications built on Ethereum.
Yeah. Yeah.
This increased affordability and usability could really drive further adoption.
Right.
And potentially even increase Ethereum's value even more.
So lower fees could open the door for a lot more people to actually use Ethereum, for what it was meant for, which would potentially make it even more valuable. So that paints a pretty optimistic picture for holders.
Yeah.
But our source did mention some potential downsides or risks with such a huge change.
Of course.
It's never going to be completely smooth sailing with something this complex.
Yeah, you got to be realistic.
Right.
A transition of this magnitude is inherently complex, and it does come with some potential challenges.
Right.
As the source points out, the full Ethereum upgrade is a multi-stage process.
Right.
And there's always a chance of delays. Or maybe they discover some unforeseen security vulnerabilities along the way.
Yeah.
Building and deploying software at this scale, underpinning billions and billions of dollars.
Yeah.
It's incredibly intricate, and ensuring the network's stability and security is the top priority.
Yeah, for sure.
Can't mess that up.
And there was something about a specific amount of ether needed if you wanted to stake directly yourself.
That's right. That's a really important practical thing to consider.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about getting involved in staking, to be a solo validator.
Yeah.
And actually be the one validating those transactions on the network.
Yeah.
You'll need to stake at least 32 ETH.
Okay.
And for a lot of people,
yeah,
that's a significant amount of capital.
Yeah, for sure.
So the source points out, if you don't have that much,
right,
you can use what are called staking services.
Okay.
Offered by different platforms.
Right.
Basically, these services pool together smaller amounts of ether from a ton of different users.
Gotcha.
So they can reach that 32 ETH minimum.
Yeah.
So more people can participate in staking and earn those rewards.
You're right.
But this does mean you're relying on a third party.
Yeah.
Which is something you always have to think about, in terms of trust.
Right.
And any potential fees.
Right. So you're basically entrusting your crypto to another entity.
Exactly.
Okay. So we've got potential technical hurdles
during the upgrade process.
Right.
And the whole thing about having to rely on third-party services for staking.
Right.
If you don't have a ton of ether.
Exactly.
What about the really big long-term potential, beyond just earning staking rewards and lower fees?
So the long-term rewards here could be really transformative.
Okay.
If Ethereum actually achieves all the scalability that proof of stake is supposed to deliver, we're talking about the ability to handle millions of transactions per second.
Wow.
Which could open up entire new categories of decentralized applications that we can barely even imagine right now.
Yeah.
I mean, think about applications that need incredibly high throughput.
Yeah.
Low latency.
Right.
Like truly mainstream decentralized social media.
Okay. Yeah.
Or like massively multiplayer online games that run entirely on the blockchain.
Wow.
Or even more efficient and transparent financial systems.
Right.
The really exciting part here is the potential for all this new innovation.
And these new uses that we just can't do right now because of the network's limits.
Right.
It's like they're building the foundation for a much more robust and versatile decentralized internet.
Millions of transactions per second. That's a huge jump from where we are now.
It's massive.
Okay, so let's kind of bring all this together.
Yeah.
This move to proof of stake, this big Ethereum upgrade.
Yeah.
It's not just a minor software update, is it?
Definitely not. I mean, the source really emphasizes.
Yeah.
This is a fundamental evolution in how blockchain technology can operate and scale.
Yeah.
So by taking care of that energy consumption problem, increasing the network capacity massively, and creating a way for holders to earn rewards by keeping the network safe.
Right.
Ethereum's really setting themselves up for the next big wave of growth and much wider adoption.
So to quickly sum up the key benefits for you, the listener, we're talking about a much more environmentally friendly way to run this major blockchain. Yeah.
The potential for the network to handle way more activity without getting all slow and expensive.
Exactly.
And the chance for everyday people to earn passive income just by holding their ether.
That's right.
And supporting the network.
It's a fundamental shift.
Yeah.
That addresses some critical limitations.
Yeah.
And unlocks a whole bunch of really exciting possibilities for the future of decentralized applications and digital assets.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't just about what's happening inside Ethereum.
Right.
The success of this transition could have a ripple effect across the entire cryptocurrency and blockchain space.
It really does feel like we're at a pivotal moment in the development of this whole technology.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Ethereum's big move, here's a final thought for you to consider.
Okay.
With a network like Ethereum, potentially being able to handle transactions at this scale.
Yeah.
Think about what that means for different industries.
Right. Finance, art, supply chain management, even social networking.
It's crazy.
What new digital experiences or solutions might emerge when these underlying tech limitations are gone?
It's a really exciting time.
It's a fascinating frontier to watch unfold.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It was a pleasure being here.
And we'll catch you in the next one.
See you then.